we have further coming out of New York, where leaders at the UN Security Council, including Washington's new envoy to the United Nations, condemned Russia during an emergency meeting over an incursion by Russian fighter jets into NATO member Estonia's airspace. Let's take a listen in to what the leaders had to say.
This event, following on the heels of the Russian drone incursion into Polish airspace, creates the impression that Russia either wants to escalate and pull more countries into this conflict with Ukraine, or doesn't have full control of those who operate its fighter planes and drones. So either scenario is very disconcerting, given that Russia is obviously a nuclear power with global reach. And so I once again urge Russia as a permanent member of this council to uphold international peace and security.
Ladies and gentlemen, what brings us here today is alarming. On 19 September 2025, 3 armed Russian MiG-31 fighter jets deliberately entered Estonian airspace in violation of our territorial integrity. They remained in our skies for 12 minutes, penetrating up to 10 kilometers deep and covering nearly 100 kilometers inside our sovereign territory. These are the hard facts based on solid evidence, whatever Russia is claiming.
А между тем факты свидетельствуют о том, что 19 сентября 3 российских истребителя МиГ-31 осуществили плановый перелет из Карелии на аэродром, расположенный в Калининградской области, который выполнялся строго в соответствии с международными правилами использования воздушного пространства. Российские воздушные суда не отклонялись от согласованного маршрута и не пересекали воздушное пространство Эстонии. Их траектория проходила над нейтральными водами Балтийского моря на удалении более 3 километров от острова Вайндла. Это подтверждается данными средств объективного контроля. Если бы в Эстонии этого хотели, то могли бы сами в этом убедиться. Но такой цели у Таллина нет. Задача состоит в другом. Вопреки фактам и здравому смыслу, нагнетать истерию и обвинять Россию в провокациях. И вот уже представители НАТО сразу же поспешили назвать происходящее безрассудным поведением. А глава европейской дипломатии и по совместительству эстонка призвала к твердой позиции в поддержку стран Балтии.
Russia hopes that it might force us to draw our focus away from supporting Ukraine and focus solely on our own security. Well, let me be very clear. European security starts with Ukraine. And any provocation against EU member states will only strengthen our resolve to support Ukraine. I say this openly to Russian representatives in this room. Your government's actions are reckless, dangerous, and go against the very principles of the United Nations.
In the meanwhile, the NATO allies accused Russia at the United Nations of violating the alliance's airspace in Estonia and Poland. The British Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, said that, quote, "Your reckless actions risk direct armed confrontation between NATO and Russia. Our alliance is defensive, but be under no illusion, we stand ready to defend NATO's skies and NATO's territory." Washington's new envoy to the United Nations vowed to defend every inch of NATO territory, end quote, as he addressed an emergency meeting over an incursion by Russian fighter jets into Estonia's airspace. Okay, we're now joined by Ambassador Sachdev. He joins us live from New Delhi. Ambassador Sachdev, thank you very much for joining us here in the program, and it's always a pleasure to have you. Of course, this is the 3rd time that Russian aerial powers have entered NATO territory for the last time in 2 weeks. What are your thoughts on the significance of this, and of course NATO's response to them?
I think it's a serious escalation of the Ukraine crisis. Fighting in Ukraine has been going on for over 3 years now, and has devastated the country without a decisive blow being rained on either of the two combatants or belligerents. Now, last month, Belarus hosted two exercises in which many other countries took part. These military exercises were held close to the border with that Belarus has with a number of NATO countries, including Poland and the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. And I think the transgressions, Russia has never tried to explain them, could have been intended or unintended. Either way, they have raised the hackles in NATO, and the European NATO countries have scurried to respond. This is their worst fears being realized. Russia has often threatened to involve NATO countries who are supporting Ukraine, direct conflict, etc. On the other hand, NATO countries have expanded their role in Ukraine. Particularly the European NATO countries are now buying American weapons to supply to Ukraine. And this happens when the peace talks hoped for as an aftermath of Alaska summit last month have not been realized. So it's a really a dangerous development. It's symbolic, but at the same time, it shows how tripwires close on the two sides are.
Yes, Ambassador Sachdev, thank you very much for joining.